Hello everyone, and welcome back to another video on the Siley Stats YouTube channel. Today we're going to be doing what we usually do, and that is tournament analysis. So I'm going to be sitting here in this chair doing what we usually do. Yeah, because I mean the last two videos were a little unusual. That was my Solon vlog and the kind of map analysis, I guess, state analysis, doing statewide, not like individual teams. But now we're back doing this. So let's get started. As you can tell by the title, we're going to be looking at post-Solon tournaments today. Yeah, it's kind of similar to MIT, where the tournaments that happened right after MIT, there wasn't really too much to talk about. So we're going to do kind of like a quick round, kind of like we did there, and go through each of these, point out what I think are some of the, important takeaways from these. And I'm finally getting organized. I bolded things that I want to talk about so I don't forget anything, because I do that a lot. I forget a lot of stuff. So let's get into it. We're going to start here with Fairfax Invitational. Happened same weekend as Solon. Langley from Virginia takes the win here. If we just search Langley, this was actually their first tournaments that I have data for them on. And the other one we'll talk about in a little bit. That happened the next weekend, February 10th. Let's stick with this one for now. Yeah, some decently strong performance from Langley here. Probably not super consequential, though, because I don't think, does Virginia send two teams? I should probably know this at this point. Oh, I guess they do. I guess Virginia does send two teams, and Langley was actually the second team from Virginia. So, okay, Langley will probably make it to nationals this year. That's good for them. And but Thomas Jefferson, or what is it? Thomas Jefferson School for Science and Technology, or whatever. Yeah. They're most certainly going to probably beat Langley at the Virginia State's tournament. So decently strong performance from Langley. Not super competitive competition here, though. Yeah, of course, these other Virginia teams, not very competitive compared to Thomas Jefferson and to a lesser extent Langley. Reservoir from Maryland, I'm going to disappear for a second as I look to see if how they did in the Maryland state tournaments. All right, let's see here. So Reservoir placed 5th in the Maryland state tournament last year. And we're back. So, yeah, not a super competitive team from Maryland. And this team I only included because they are the DC state champions. DC, of course, isn't really a state, but we're going to say state champions because I don't know. What is DC? What would we call DC? The unincorporated area champions, the stateless limbo land champions, whatever this is. DC basis independent are the champions of that area. DC, though, not super competitive nationally here. Yeah, last year you can see it was basis independent that made it to nationals, 41st overall. Yeah, not very good. Not absolutely terrible, not down here in the bottom 10, but certainly not where we expect competitive teams to place here. And honestly, this 10th place might indicate at a not very competitive invitational. This might indicate that this school might do a little worse this year at nationals. Maybe placing in the bottom 10 this year. Not entirely sure, though. But, yeah, basis independent making their debut at this tournament. I don't think, nope, we did not have any data on them before. So let's move on here. This is Purdue University. An Indiana competition here. You'll notice a conspicuous absence, and we'll talk about them later. But for now, let's talk about this. So, yeah, I mean, really not too much to talk about. Indiana, unfortunately, only sends one team, I believe. Looks like yes. Indiana only sends one team to nationals, and I don't think it was super competitive last year. Again, I'm going to disappear here and check that out. Um, yeah, so Carmel beat Munster last year by that looks like what is that? 20 points, more than 20 points. Um, So yeah, Carmel again probably almost certainly going to nationals, being the Indiana state champions for this year. So I mean, I don't want to say none of these teams matter because that's rude. Um, but in terms of competitiveness and what we're looking for in rankings, this tournament really doesn't have any impact on that. Now let's look at University of Chicago. This one did have Carmel, a very competitive team nationally, of course. I need to remind myself. Right now, I have them just out of the top 10. They are italicized. They might be in the top 10. That might be a little bit better than Marquette here. But yeah, very competitive team, of course. And this team from, what is that? Missouri? Mo. Yes, I think that is Missouri. How do you say this? Ladu Horton Watkins, from Missouri. They were the Missouri state champions, and not doing bad either. 22nd, not amazing, but certainly not bad. Um, and actually, this is a little strange. Missouri, not a team, not a state that you think of as super competitive um, in Science Olympiad, but sending two teams, which is interesting. I think that just means that they have a lot of teams that compete in Missouri. So yeah, kind of interesting. But anyway, yes, this is the Missouri State champion from last year. Doing pretty well here. Not quite as well as Carmel. Carmel, I guess they might have been unstacked. This gap here indicates maybe not. And this string of firsts also, look at that. Quite a strong performance from Carmel there. But there are teams that, or there are events that this other Carmel team beats this first place Carmel team in. So I don't know, perhaps unstacked. It doesn't look like there's anything that they beat them in that this first team bombs. I guess Whitty kind of, but Whitty's gonna Whitty, right? Oh, by the way, so I don't look at Division B a lot, but I was curious. I look at new Division B tournaments that are posted. The Kennedy Invitational was recently made available on not Olympiad, on Duosmium, and I took a look at it. Kennedy, which is the school that hosts it, sent 10 rosters to that tournament. 10. I should have done this before. I apologize, but I want to see the percentage of teams that is. So there were 37 teams there. So more than a fourth of the teams that attended, more than a fourth of the rosters that attended, I should say, were Kennedy, the school that hosted it. And the funny part to me is that with all of those rosters, not one medaled in Whitty. Not one. Kennedy, of course, doing extremely well otherwise, but it's just hilarious. Whitty is such a wild card event, especially for competitive teams, that not one of Kennedy's 10 rosters could even medal in this event. Pretty hilarious. Anyway, back to Carmel. So Lake Horton, that doesn't say Lake. Ladu Horton. Yeah, I don't really know if there's too much more to say about this. We didn't have any other data on this team. This is their first data point. Fairly strong data point, even if this is Carmel's B team. Beating their B team's no small feats. necessarily. So decently strong performance from Horton, very strong performance from Carmel. I don't think that really changes my rankings at all, though. I think that we would really need to see Carmel compete against a competitive team that we have data on. Like I said, this is Horton's first data point. So, like, if we knew if Horton, let's say earlier, like a couple weeks earlier, beat whatever Harriton or something at a tournament, then I would consider moving Carmel up because they beat them so handedly here. But again, very strong performance from Carmel. Pretty strong performance from Horton, I believe. Next, we're going on to Glenn A. Wilson Invitational, also Solon weekend. Yeah, so this, of course, out of California. And rather interesting result here. Troy gets beaten by Glenn A. Wilson. And I specifically remember there was a video I made a while ago talking about, I guess it was here, I think. I was talking about how Stevenson's falling off this year, and I made a comment about Glenn A. Wilson, like, oh, Glenn A. Wilson beat Stevenson. Who's ever heard of this school? This actually appears to be a fairly competitive school in California. Again, in most other states, this school would go to nationals, but because California is so ridiculously competitive, they don't. But beating Troy here by a not insignificant gap, too. So Troy probably sent their B team here. And if not, then the results of this are almost completely invalidated by Golden Gate here. But this could be maybe a closer matchup. Again, Troy very likely sending their B team here. Also, this was Glenn A. Wilson's Invitational. So I don't really know if that has anything to do with it. A similar thing happened at Solon last year, where once Solon was added in post, they actually beat Stevenson. But then, of course, Stevenson went on to take first at nationals here, beating Solon again. Not an insignificant margin. 20 points is not a small gap necessarily. So yeah, I think schools that it looks like, of course, schools that host tournaments, when they're added in post, they end up doing better than they otherwise would have. And that's kind of confirmed by this Golden Gate Invitational. Now we are out of Solon weekend. This is February 11th. And interestingly enough, this was one of, if not the only invitationals that I could find that happened on a Sunday. Most invitationals happen, of course, on Saturday. This one happened on a Sunday. February 11th was a Sunday, Super Bowl Sunday, in fact. Anyway, so yeah, Troy here, of course, beating Glenn A. Wilson by a very large margin, almost 100 points there. So, yeah, I mean, this loss to Glenn A. Wilson, even if this was their A team, just a week later, they end up kicking their butts. So, not really too much to change in the California state rankings there. Other than Troy, Monte Vista beating Mountain View by, again, that's a pretty decent gap. And if you remember correctly, Monte Vista might be the team that we have the most data for. Where was it? It was somewhere here. Here we go. Maria Loma, Mountain View ended up beating Monte Vista. I'm trying to remember if... Okay, that was their B team. Now we're back to Soaps. Okay. I'm trying to remember if... where was it? Oh, I passed it. Where is it? Where's Maria Loma? Where is it? Here it is. I'm trying to remember if I concluded that this was Monte Vista's B team or not. It might have been, honestly, considering how much Mountain View beat them by. Troy, of course, unstacked. I super scored them there. Yeah, I forget exactly what I said about this tournament in my very brief analysis of it. Did I ever? I mean, I probably did talk about this at some point. But yeah, back to closer to the present here. yeah, Monte Vista beating Mountain View. Again, these two schools are in the same California state competition, so they are direct competitors. And I think, yes, I did move Monte Vista back ahead of Mountain View. Did I change this? Oh, I didn't. I should probably change this. We're going to switch this out. Monte Vista. Monte Vista. Yeah, I think I spelled that right. All right, there we go. Yeah, Monte Vista taking Mountain View's place. Again, if Mountain View ends up coming out ahead, I'd probably rank them about the same here in the rankings. Yeah, so back to this. That might be it, actually, for Golden Gate here. I guess this is kind of notable. So Tesla Stem from Washington, the Washington State champion, coming down from where else? Washington, to compete in this California tournament. It's, by the way, Tesla Stem, they compete in a lot of these California tournaments. It's kind of impressive how often they make the drive from wherever they are in Washington down to California. Even if they're going from the southernmost point in Washington to the northernmost point in California, that's still that's probably a 5-hour drive right there, at least. So making the trip, again, if they're assuming they're not flying, making the trip pretty consistently there. And Edward Clark from Nevada, again, another team that attends a lot of California tournaments, very rarely does well in them. Yeah, Nevada, not a very competitive school nationally. And we have some evidence here that they might not even be the state champions this year. They might not even go to nationals this year because Davidson Academy ended up beating them. Again, a pretty decent gap there. That's more than 40 points. Davidson Academy, again, I don't think, we don't have any data on them other than this. But and Edward Clark, again, just not a very competitive team. Data point after data point shows they are not very competitive. Again, in terms of the national rankings, this doesn't really matter because neither of these teams are super competitive. But in terms of the Nevada State tournament and, which team from Nevada will go to nationals, Davidson might be up right now. I would want another data point to confirm that, but it looks like they might be ahead of Ed Clark here. All right, so this is the final tournaments that I'm going to talk about today. And this is Yale Underground Invitational. That's an interesting name. I wonder what the history of that is. So we got some more data for Great Neck South. Great Neck South, I think... Oh, I don't have New York on here. Oh, that's sad. I should probably do that. Obviously, Syosset's... Did I spell that right? I'm going to assume I spelled that right. Obviously, Syosset's first right now. Not sure where Great Neck South versus what's the other competitive school from New York that has a chance of taking this? I'm forgetting. There's another school from New York that this isn't going to help, but this one maybe? This yeah. Oh my gosh. You guys get to watch me butcher this. Stuyvesant. Yeah, sure. We're going to go with that. That might be... I thought there was another one, though. Ward Melville. That's what it is. Ward Melville. I think they attended Battle at Valley Forge. That's how they're familiar to me. Let's see. No, that was Great Neck South at Battle at Valley Forge. Is there any other Ward Melville? So we have Boyceville. and MIT. And yeah, not a great performance at MIT. Um, so yeah, probably Great Neck South is up right now. I want to see. I'm disappearing a lot this time, I know, but I'm curious. I want to see who the uh, New York runner-up was last year. Let's see. It was Ward Melville. Okay, I could have actually looked at the national rankings for that. So, yeah, Ward Melville was New York's runner-up last year. This year, it looks like it might be Great Neck South. Again, I don't really think either of these teams are going to hold a flame to Syosset, since they've been on an absolute tear this year. But, in fact, where do I have Syosset right now? I have Syosset, like, above Mason, tied with Acton Boxborough right now. So, yeah, I mean, Syosset's just absolutely shredding it. And Great Neck South and Ward Melville and Stuyvesant, how did I say that? I don't know. Whatever that team was, yeah, I don't really think they're going to compete with Great Neck South for first. But New York does send 2 teams to nationals, so that second place spot in New York is very important. So yeah, it looks like Great Neck South might be in the lead there. The other team I wanted to talk about here is South Windsor. This is our first data point for them, and it is not. I am wrong. Looks like they were at Capital Area in New York. Yeah, so again, losing to a bunch of New York teams. Syosset, this was very likely Syosset's B team. Not very likely, almost certainly Syosset's B team. Yeah, not a very great performance here. I did include them because they are the Connecticut state champions. There we go. Yep, South Windsor, 39th. Again, not absolutely terrible, not very competitive though. Yeah, this performance, again, pretty poor performance here, might indicate that they are a little bit lower than they were last year. So that's all the tournaments that I wanted to talk about. I did want to talk about one more thing real quick. It is Soup Day. I don't know if there are any other competitive tournaments that are going on today, but Soup is a highly competitive tournament that is happening. Right now, as I speak, people, well, I'm speaking at 6 o'clock, so people are probably done competing at this point. But awards might be starting soon. I have no idea. But results should be out at some point soon. And depending on the results, I might make a video about that. There are more teams going to Soup than this. I looked at the list. It's Montgomery and Westminster Plainsboro. Those are both going, and there might be one more competitive team that I don't have on here. Syosset is not going. I remember that. But yeah, Westminster Plainsboro and Montgomery will get more data on that matchup. That matchup is very close right now. And again, very, very critically important for the New Jersey Science Olympiad state competition, because they only send one team. So, yeah, it's a really critical matchup for both of those teams, and it'll tell me a lot about where they're ranking. And, of course, we have Cumberland Valley and Harriton duking it out at Soup. I expect Harriton to win this. Cumberland Valley, though, again, if we go back to here, a much better than expected performance for them at Solon here. So they might do better than I expect here. Again, probably not beating Harriton, but who knows? I thought that. Oh, come on. There you go. I thought that. Where are they? I thought that Centerville and Troy were going to beat them. And yeah, New Trier I thought was going to kick their butt, and then they ended up kicking New Trier's butt. So, yeah, 60-point gap there. So, I mean, you can never really tell, right? But that is going to be a very important matchup to watch, because even though Lower Merion isn't again, critical matchup for the Pennsylvania state championship or state competition. PA, of course, only sends 2 teams, and they have 3 really competitive ones. So, you know, 1 team is going home and 2 are going to nationals. So it's really important to watch that. And Pennsylvania, again, is a state that typically does very well nationally. Like, I mean, last year, Harriton, of course, took 5th, and Lower Merion 14th, I think. Yeah, 14th for Lower Merion. So, again, very competitive state nationally. So it's important to watch that state competition because it's kind of up in the air at the moment. So yeah, that's all I wanted to say. A little bit shorter of a video this time. And like I said, I'll probably be making an analysis for Soup, especially because of its implications for PA and New Jersey, and maybe New York. I forget. Again, I think there's another competitive team going, but not sure. So yeah, that's all for this video. Thank you for watching, and have a fantastic day.